Hey guys, welcome to the Arzen channel, and today I'm going to make a pre-order guide for the RG353V and VS. Now, this device has a chipset that another device already had, which is the RG353P, and also it had all the features that this device had pretty much. And we're going to talk about this device, what it's capable of, what you can expect of this device. I'm going to show you footage of the gameplay on the prior version of this device with the same chipset and a different layout, but it will function the same way pretty much. That's what we know about this device, and we can expect the same performance. But there are some catches and some things that we're going to take a look at in this case, because this device is new and we don't have the actual unit yet. That's why this is a pre-order guide, which is definitely something you want to take a look at if you are pre-ordering this device. Now I got this webpage in front of me, as you can see in front of you guys. There are two versions, one with a single operating systems, which is the VS version, and we got the V version with dual operating system. Now the differences here is mainly that this one with the single operating system, the watered down version pretty much is housing the Linux operating system, while the other one, the full-blown version, is Android 11 and the Linux operating system as well. So yeah, you can expect that in this one, while the Linux version is pretty good. I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid. It's pretty good and you can do a lot with it, but Android just beats it. That's very easy to say. The markup in pricing might change your mind, as you will see later on, but the differences are as follows. There is a lack of 1 GB of DDR4 RAM in the watered down version, so that means that it's half the RAM capacity of the full-blown version, the V version, pretty much. And also, we don't have an eMMC internal memory on this watered down version, but we do have that on the Android version with the two operating systems. Now, the differences that we also have to note is that there is a touchscreen on the Android version, while there isn't on the other one, the watered down version. Of course, the perks that Android has are many that you will not have on the other one, but also screencast isn't there. They specifically mentioned that screencast will not be available on the Linux version. That makes sense because that's an Android feature, but it still has HDMI, so I don't care about screencast. The quality of screencast never is that good anyways, so HDMI it is anyways. I would like to check out one thing. Does it have two SD card slots? And it does. As we can see on this picture over here, it does have two SD card slots, and I would expect that to be on both units. So you can have one SD card slot for the operating system, which will be the Linux operating system, and the other one is going to be for the ROMs that you will share between Linux and Android. So if you want to boot into Android, you probably have to pull out the internal SD card, which is the SD card with the Linux operating system, and then it will boot into Android. And if you plug it in there, it will boot into Linux. So that's how that works. There's no dedicated button mostly for this kind of feature to switch between operating systems, which is kind of a bummer, but they might surprise us to have that included. I don't think so, but they might do that. I don't think so though. And something else we need to talk about is the specs. Now, the specs that are common between these devices is that it has an RK3566 chipset, which is a quite capable chipset for anything that goes up until GameCube. GameCube, it's not gonna run. As you can see in the footage in front of us, GameCube here is stuttering. It's not having a good time. It's not playable. Unless maybe somebody does something to it. You can enjoy 2D games on GameCube, but not 3D games. So that's something you gotta know. Same goes for PS2 on Aether PS2 SX. I think that is the name of the app. It has the capability of running 2D games, but it does not have the capability of running 3D games at good speeds, satisfactory speeds, and it's not playable. But anything below that belt is really playable, especially on Android. And you can also add some mods with some texture packs for N64 and anything below that. Dreamcast, I haven't tested out with texture packs. Maybe I will do that in the future, but I don't think that will work that well. It just doesn't make sense in my brain. For Nintendo 64, it did surprise me that it's able to do that. As you can see in front of you, it's really beautiful, and that's something that it can do. Now, back to the specs. The RK3566 quad-core 64-bit Cortex-A55 chipset has a frequency that goes up until 1.8 gigahertz. And the RAM memory, of course, as we said, is 1 gigabyte on the watered-down version, while it's 2 gigabytes on the V version, the max potential version. It has 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi capability, as well as 2.4, of course, since it has 5. And it's quite a good Wi-Fi for moonlight streaming and stuff like that, but it has an aspect ratio of 4:3. So 4:3 is not good for PC gaming, definitely. So emulation, GameCube emulation, perhaps, is something you might want to stream off of your PC onto that device. The thing is also that it has a TF card support up until 512 gigabytes. That's a lot. That's really nice. Probably they mean that for both SD card slots, but you will not need that much SD card capacity for the internal SD card slot for the operating system, because you're not going to put ROMs on there unless you do, which is possible too. But in the operating system, it has the option of going into the internal memory for ROMs or the external memory for ROMs. So I would say just opt for a small memory card in the internal memory and just a big memory card for the big memory external SD card slot. And it has functions that you want to know about. It has a motor vibrator, as well as a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. Of course, it does have that, as well as a brightness, and it has a brightness functionality. Definitely does have that, of course. I think something in combination with the function button, but it has a volume buttons, so not a rocker. It's not a wheel that you can just play with and then continuously change the brightness or the volume in that way. It's a pressable button. I don't like pressable buttons as much as the wheels, but okay, we can accept that. It has a handle function, apparently, as they said over here, a wired handle function. So if you plug in a USB Type-C into the device and then plug it into your computer and then open that function in one way or another, you can use it as a controller on your PC. I don't know why you would want to do that, but sure, it's there for the people who want that, who need an emergency controller for the PC. The layout of the device makes for a rather, I would assume, not very comfortable experience, but comfortable enough to get by for a nice playing session. Because the analog sticks are on the bottom, like that, and you'll have to put your fingers down like this. So it's not that good. I have made a device, the Emulation Boy, before with this same layout, and it was not easy to use the analog sticks. I have to be honest about that, even though it looked really nice and beautiful. And this one does look really beautiful because I have a soft spot for vertical handhelds. I would just say that no, it will not be the most comfortable experience, but it wouldn't be that crampy as well, depending on the acrobatics of your fingers. If you really have sensitive fingers in terms of crampiness, I definitely think you'll have, you know, a time when you're playing that you're like, man, this is uncomfortable, but we will find out the day it comes out. But that's my speculation at the moment. They say comfortable feel on this page over here, but I don't think it will be. Let you fondle admiringly. that's an interesting way of putting it, but you know, I digress. Anyways, it has a battery life of 3,200 milliamperes, lasting for 6 hours. Yeah, I think 6 hours is fair, depending on what games you're playing. If you're playing 3D intensive games, yes, you will get like maybe 4-5 hours. 3,200 milliamperes is a good amount. It's acceptable, very acceptable. So is there anything else that we need to check out? Oh yeah, the display, of course, is a 3.5-inch IPS display with touch or no touch, depending on which version you go for. Watered down means no touch. full-blown version means you got touch on it. And it is OCA laminated. That means that there is no internal reflection between the lens of the screen and the panel itself. So it will have more crisp colors, more beautiful, vibrant colors, and there will be no internal reflection, which is something you will definitely notice if you put them side by side, a display with the OCA laminated display or not OCA laminated. It has a resolution of 640 by 480. That is something that is quite pixel dense for that size, 3.5 inches. So it is very crisp and clear and beautiful. And apparently they say it has the capability of playing Android games. Well, there are some games that will be compatible with it and some that aren't, mostly because of either the controller capabilities of the device, because it is wired internally as a certain controller, which means it is not detected as an Xbox controller or a PS3 controller. It's actually a certain proprietary type of controller, and not all games can detect that. But it has a touchscreen anyways, so you can also use the touchscreen somehow. I don't think that's good, but you know, it's there in the full-blown version. But you can also definitely, like on the other one, you can map buttons to the screen. I hope they fix it on this one and not use the same one that is on the P version, which is the predecessor of this device with the same chipset. It had this issue with getting squished. You know, when you're mapping the buttons to the screen, they have to be aligned perfectly with the buttons that are virtually on the screen, with the buttons that you can map. But the problem is if you actually navigate using the back button, home button, or the recent tab, it gets squished and jumbled up, and then suddenly all the alignment that you did is gone, which is a lot of effort through the drain. So that's something you got to keep in mind, and hopefully I'm going to take a look at that, make sure that it's going to be good, because I'm quite critical in that sense. Now, let's talk about the prices. The prices are in front of you, listed on the screen for each version, as you can see in front of you. We're also going, while you see the prices and decide for yourself if it's worth it or not, going to list the colors available. So we have the beautiful purple transparent version, which is the one that I pre-ordered. Now, I'm not biased. You can choose any color you want, but this is definitely beautiful because it's reminiscent of the Game Boy Color, having the atomic purple color. So I opted for that as somebody that had a Game Boy Color before. And we have a white version with colored buttons. It didn't really appeal to me, but some people might like it. And we have the gray version that is reminiscent of the Game Boy DMG. So the same kind of colors. The colors don't look like they're super accurate, but you know, it's quite nostalgic in a sense. And you have the smoky transparent black one, which is the one that they like to make for ANBERNIC devices. It's always available almost. But the new addition to the fray is the atomic purple one, the transparent purple one. So a lot of people might look into that one, I think, because some of the nostalgia factor it has. And what it's packed with as well of the get-go in both the watered-down version and the full version is screen protector. That's the free gift that comes with it. And you have a 16, basically at the base version, the machine only with a 16 TF card, 16 GB TF card, and a 32 GB high-speed eMMC. So it has one TF card with it for the operating system, probably. And that's it. You can opt for other versions with 64 GB of SD card with it, 256 GB SD card, as well as a bag, and both of the SD card versions with the bag. All of them have different prices as listed in front of us over here. I made a nice list so you know all about it. And shipping costs aren't that expensive, depending on what option you go for. Of course, you can go for DHL, UPS, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go for the cheaper version, of course, because it's fast enough, to be honest. AliExpress Direct isn't that late, mostly in my case, so I just wanted to get that out of the way for people who are ordering first time from AliExpress. It's quite reliable, AliExpress Direct. And let's check it out. You got a coupon code for people pre-ordering this device. It is listed here in the description. Before you order it, it's better to use this coupon code. It's RG353V008, and the code is on the description in the bottom below. And it will release, the order will be dispatched on October 15th. So that's the release date. And also, the thing is that the code is only applicable for people who pre-order it before that date. So that's something you got to keep in mind. Of course, if you go for the version without the SD card opted with it, the 64 or 256 GB SD cards, you will not get games with it. So you'll have to put your own games on it, which is not a problem with me. So I actually have my own library and stuff like that. But if you really want to have a plethora of games, apparently they have the option to choose that. Apparently with 64 GB game card, you'll have 4,000 games, and on the 256 GB version, you'll also have 4,000 games. So the amount of games and the library is the same, but you'll have more space on the bigger version, of course, of the SD card. But if you want to have a library, then maybe you want to opt for the 64 GB version. That's the option you have. And then see it by yourself, of course, if you have some space left, which we're going to find out sometime. Maybe somebody will be kind enough to put it in the comments, because I did the base machine only because I have my own SD cards. Anyways, I would say as a kind of experienced person in handhelds, and especially ANBERNIC handhelds, because I trust their devices mostly, that it will be good quality. The thing also is that it will have Android, which is quite polished, not bad. According to the experience on the prior version, it was good. Probably this Android is based on that one, maybe a little bit improved. I would be surprised if it would be worse. But as I said, Android is the way to go in my case, because you have more tinkering capabilities. You can optimize it really well. It will take some time to optimize it, and the library should be increased by yourself, and adding games, your own games. Hopefully it has Play Store. I hope this time it has Play Store, because the last iteration did not have Play Store, because I want to put my own games on it that I have purchased. Otherwise, you'll have to opt for cracking the games, even though you already own the games. That's kind of a bummer, so it's something I gotta get out of the way. Moonlight streaming works very well on this, so you just can be assured of that. I have tested it out before on the other iteration. As well, what I want to get out of the way is that, yeah, the Linux operating system out of the box, which is the one that it comes with, is mostly not the best experience. So mostly these custom firmwares that come out later on is always the ones that you want to take a look at if you're new at this. So definitely learning how to put custom firmwares on your device is something that will improve the experience on Linux. But if you don't want to do that and don't want to hassle, Android will definitely serve you well. And it is a good Android experience like you'd have on a phone. It has the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, all the stuff that you would expect on Android, except the Play Store. Yes, it has a mono speaker and no stereo speakers, so that's something you also got to keep in mind. Apparently from the pictures, as you can see, it has no stereo setup. Makes sense, because this is a vertical handheld with the front-facing speaker, so the speaker is in your face and really will be better in terms of volume than a device that has down-firing speakers like the prior version of this device, or the P version, the brother, I would say, of this device. So I don't think mono speakers is that much of an issue, because you're not going to be watching cinematic movies on this device, right? Or are you? I don't know. Might be something you like, but I wouldn't. So mono is good. No problems here. So this is pretty much all I've wanted to talk about in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the review of this device, which will come out anytime beyond the 15th of October. As you might know, if you're a follower of this channel, you know that I like vertical handhelds. They make me hyped up. I made my own handheld before it was a vertical one, and I love the form factor. So I'm kind of biased. That's all I wanted to say. Peace out, guys. See you guys in the next video.